Ripperino. Alright, so yeah, let me pull up the information a little bit disorganized here. Alright.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. I probably could have waited. All right, so we have. So that's one thing I read on Reddit, and maybe we can discuss it. So as you can see, like the prize pool is very top heavy. It's 36K for
Sorry,
first
guys.
place. Yeah, no problem. Sorry,
Busy.
I probably should have waited. My bad. So the Star League by Spo TV is 36K for the winner, and. And then only 1,000 for like top 12, and then it goes up, 9 to 12, 900, and then 5 to 8, 1,800, third, fourth, 4,000, and then second, 9,000, and then the winner gets 36K. The 3 seasons of Star League this year. And someone on Reddit was saying, like, obviously he was a little bit extreme, but he was saying, like, there was a betting scandal in Korea back in Brood War because of tournament payout like this. Do you guys think that the payout for the Star League is actually a problem, Nathanias?
As far as I'm aware, it's pretty standard for the Koreans to pay a lot. Like they want to pay the first place prize significantly more than all the others because the big championships are supposed to mean something. But I mean, it's not like it's not like 10 grand for second place or like 4 grand for third and fourth. I don't think that's like, oh, you've wasted your whole life because you got top 4. It's I don't think it's like the worst thing ever. I think it's cool. It's fine. Makes the first place mean a little bit more.
And the next couple of information, there's going to be 4 global seed. Now, I really don't agree with the name they chose, 4 global seed, because it's just basically the highest point earner for WCS NA, EU, and GSL. So I think it ends up being Bomber, MC, and I forgot the last 2 that are that qualify for this. But Rotterdam, if a tournament uses global seed and then they just end up inviting Koreans, do you really think that's okay to use that name?
Nah. Yeah, I guess you can make arguments for both sides of this story. I didn't really put much thought into it. I just saw Red venting about it a little bit on Twitter. It's one of these things that I kind of have to read into. But yeah, I don't really like. I've said this before, and I think on paper like these. Like, oh, well, these players have performed very well at this tournament, that tournament, and then over time we're all going to invite them to reward them for their performances and stuff. But StarCraft 2 moves so quickly that like I don't think you should really invite people to your tournament for results they achieved like 6 or 7 months ago. I think I'm not a big fan of it just because people that I was pretty hyped about 6, 7 months ago, those might be people that I'm not very hyped about right now at all because we see some more of them and then we learn that they're one-trick ponies, but they still get invited to this great tournament because they had their little one-trick run at one certain event. I don't really like it, and yeah, I agree. But I mean, also if you go global, then go truly global and don't invite people that already live in Korea. Then, yeah, it's kind of weird.
And that's basically it, guys. There's 32 player. There's a round of 32 that goes into a group stage run of 16. There's gonna be more qualifiers for season 2, I think, for the rest of the world, but that's not officially. There's nothing official yet for that, and it starts really soon. The qualifiers are in 2 days actually. And then the round of 32 starts December 17th. So the off season is really not that long. Like if you think about it, end of BlizzCon until now, like if they didn't play the Hot 6 or after the
I mean, there hasn't really been an off season ever since BlizzCon. Like even after BlizzCon, we had Home Story Cup, we had DreamHack, and now last weekend we had another very, very packed weekend with an IEM, Fragbite, and even the Hot 6 Cups. Like I don't know where this like term off season comes from. Maybe that was true once upon a time because they just looked at the calendar and like, hey, cool, we have no tournaments these 2 months. This is the off season, guys. But I think for the last 2 years, there has already been no such thing as an off season. There's so much StarCraft all the time.
Do you think there's an oversaturation?
I mean, if you look at the last 6, 7 weeks, yes, it's kind of insane. And it's also a little bit sad because our viewing numbers are actually hurting, like tournaments that used to get better numbers. And I truly don't think it's only because now out of nowhere, a lot of people are just sick of watching StarCraft. But it's just there is more hype about something when when you look at the calendar, you have something to look forward to rather than it being like just truly every single weekend. And now again, even some weekends with double tournament action, it's definitely getting a little bit too much. And the worst thing is that like most of these tournaments, they're good tournaments, but they're not even like the tournaments that gets me truly hyped. So instead of that, we have these one or two tournaments that everybody looks forward to, and then everyone gets super hyped for, and everything is done right. We have 6, 7 tournaments that all have like yeah, it's pretty cool, but not that like super epic feeling around it, and that's definitely not good because then if you have those like kind of casual fans that don't watch StarCraft all the time and then tune in once in a blue moon and then watch a tournament, it's like, yeah, it was fun, but nothing that like, oh my god, this was like a freaking great experience. And I think maybe it even takes a toll on some of the casters as well, when you're just like casting every single weekend, you're there all the time, and there's always a big event. It's like we are pretty natural. Like sometimes people think that we always put on this game phase or this show phase, and then like off camera we're very different. But no, we can actually get like genuinely very very excited over StarCraft. But if you put us at stages like every single weekend, I can hardly convince the fans or myself that this is truly the greatest thing happening of the year. When last weekend I was there, and now the upcoming weekend I'm there again. Then on a certain point it becomes kind of just like it's another event, kind of like how you watch the NFL. The broadcasters don't build up every single game as the greatest game of the season. But since we work for different tournament organizers, they all kind of want us that this is the shit, this is the hype. But it's just like as a caster, it's kind of like like last weekend was pretty good too, and upcoming weekend is gonna be pretty good too. And I don't really want to say that this is gonna be the best thing of the year because it's kind of like just another event.
Yeah, yeah, and I think conflicting with other esports also factors in the viewership like big time. The breaks during DreamHack for CS:GO and other tournaments helped StarCraft so much. Our player base is not as big, but the viewer base can be big depending on what else is on. One thing that was pointed out on Twitter by a French Canadian friend of mine, Diaxis TV at Twitter, shout out to him. Why the fuck did IEM not host the StarCraft stream and instead just fucking start a rebroadcast? Like, in what world does that make sense? Like, I mean, I'm not making the decisions, I'm not Carmack, but they have like the running, maybe it's an agreement with Riot and they're not even allowed to, but you have like 150k, maybe 200k viewers, your finals ends, there's a final like just back of your stadium, like on the opposite side of your stadium, there's another final going on. You could boost your viewership by just hosting.
I mean,
and instead you just like stop the broadcast and start a rebroadcast, and then you get 15k viewers.
okay, well, also because I mean, I don't know, I didn't talk about it, but there are a couple of things which are pretty easy to figure out. I think also hosting and StarCraft stream with a League of Legends audience is obviously just like boosting the numbers. It's like inflatable numbers that are not really represented, and they have to present numbers of the tournaments they run and the games they run to Intel, and just by like circle jerking their own viewership from one game to another, that's not really right. Then suddenly you can say like, StarCraft peaked at 130k when actually that wouldn't have been the case at all.
Yeah.
So I think that way they keep it separate. But also, in all honesty, I think running events on the West Coast, it's pretty bad time for Europe. So there are a lot of European League fans, obviously, and there are a lot of people who miss something, so they want to tune in to rebroadcast. I don't know how many people watch the League rebroadcast, but I'm pretty sure that number is not lower than the amount of people that would have stayed to watch the StarCraft 2 final, in all honesty.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And on top of that, like the counter argument to the stats thing is that Twitch does let you look at the numbers that come from hosting. So some guy could have just an extra like couple hours of work, like basically calculating which of the stats were from hosting and removing them to like, give the numbers properly. But yeah, I think the rebroadcast is like a pretty big deal because, like, for example, being in Sweden was not fucking possible to watch that event live whatsoever. And having the rebroadcast up was nice. Like, obviously, if I wasn't busy, I would have been able to catch all the games. But yeah, like you need that rebroadcast. You need it.
Yeah, but it's not like you're. It's not like you're gonna be hosting and delaying your rebroadcast by like 5 hours. It's like maybe an hour and a half, less than that.
Yeah,
If
but
DreamHack does it for like
DreamHack did it. So.
yeah, that's my point. Like DreamHack did it. Like their CS:GO stream ended. StarCraft 2 was about to end, so they hosted Dota 2 instead. And then StarCraft 2 ended. And whose vacuum is that?
yeah, someone outside. It's really annoying. Let me close the window.
I don't even hear that. That's right.
Rip.
So yeah, the StarCraft 2 finals for DreamHack was ending.
Long list
So
or something. I don't know.
So CS:GO ended up hosting Dota 2, and then once StarCraft 2 ended, StarCraft 2 ended up hosting Dota 2 for DreamHack. So the Dota 2 numbers jumped up because they were hosted by CS:GO and StarCraft 2.
I mean,
so,
we get the idea that we
Yeah,
should
yeah.
also not forget that like IEM is obviously a very big brand and Intel's a very corporate company, and you cannot just make a bunch of decisions on the fly. Often it's all like set in
Yeah.
contracts before the
That's
circuit
true.
even starts. It's really not like someone is like scraping his head on Sunday. He's like, "Hey guys, shall we start the rebroadcast or shall we just host StarCraft?" Like, I don't know, let's flip a card or something like that. That's all decided way in advance. Those
Yeah,
are
I know.
That's
by
really
decisions.
that's
I
a
know.
really good point because ESL like does not equal like 100% IEM. They have to do what Intel wants. So all that stuff is probably decided way ahead in time. Whereas DreamHack does their own thing. So they're like, oh yeah, we'll just do this.
I don't know. If I were Carmack, I would obviously want StarCraft to do well since I'm putting so much money and effort into it all year long. So if I'm finally running an event where there's LoL and StarCraft 2, which doesn't happen at every IEM stub, by the way, I would want it to benefit both. But yeah, it's corporate decisions. I'm not Carmack. I'm just a random person on the internet. Next up, we have Alien Invasion disbands. There was.
Did you say it alien invasion?
Alien. Hey, man.
There you go.
Yeah. Alien Invasion. It's a tough word, man. I'm giving up. All right, so they had players such as Golden and Patience who left the sinking ship before it was before everyone was drowning. They had a bunch of they have a German team house. They had a bunch of pretty good players. Kane might disagree. They had CPU. They had Primelot. They had Saplo, who hasn't done much since 2012. They had Honor, who's a German streamer, and they had Demigod. And then they've been running for a very long time. The organization has been around forever, since 2010, basically. Kane, what are your thoughts on Alien Invasion?
The only two players that I really knew were Golden and Patience, and I love those guys. Definitely two of the nicest Koreans that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And they both left a while ago, like not that long ago, but a couple weeks, a month or two in the case of Golden. But yeah, CPU, Primelot, Honor, Saplo. I don't know any of those guys. CPU, I've heard his name around a bit, but I don't know him very well. So yeah, I think it just made sense not for them to exist anymore because they didn't have any like big hitters. I don't know where they were getting sponsorship money or anything like that, so it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, you've probably spoken to the Alien Invasion guys? I mean, you were in Europe for a while.
Actually, that's like kind of before my time. Like I know Saplo and I played quite a few games with him, but a couple of the guys that you just mentioned, I'm really not like that familiar with. And that's a long time ago. You forget, but I've almost been here already for like 3 years. Time really flies, man.
That's
But
true, eh?
3 years is a lifetime in esports, and obviously for a relatively small or like an in-between European team, a lot of things change within 3 years. So I'm not that close with them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if we look at their past players, they used to have Bly once upon a time. Death Angel stayed there for a while. Cytoplasm was pretty good. Headhunter was doing well in online cups. I know he's quite a dick.
I mean,
Was-
they've had a lot of players in the past.
Yeah, man, they had a very long history, and so they die. And today is the day where they They throw the towel. They
This
hang
is
out.
side- Sidetracked,
Ripperino.
Was Death Angel Verlin? Was that the guy?
Yes, that was the
Yes.
Berlin guy, man.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I've said the story before, but when we were both in Korea, I recorded like Major playing, I recorded a live playing, and then when it was my time to record the Angel for my YouTube, he was playing Whitero. I was super hyped. And after the game, he's like, "Were you recording?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up with that?" He said, "No, don't put it up, don't put it up." And then I didn't realize at the time that his nickname was Verlin. So like for the longest time, I knew that Angel was smurfing for Verlin, but in my mind I didn't remember it. And then I helped Kawaii Rice crack the case, even though I already knew the information that I forgot that I knew.
That was such a great story. All
Yeah,
of
It's
that.
such a great
It was like-
drama.
That was
Yes.
like we have some pretty shitty drama in esports, but that was like fucking Sherlock Holmes and Watson just going
Fucking-
ape shit on this guy.
There are so many
Yeah.
pictures of
That was
Kawaii
brilliant.
Rice. Kawaii Rice dressed as like Sherlock Holmes and stuff. It was
Yes.
perfect.
And that was truly an interesting story to follow.
Yeah, she just deleted her Skype and never showed up again. I was kind of sad. I wanted to know like what was her reasoning. She was so funny. And Chanman was pushing her too. She kept inviting her on a pro corner for talking about strategies.
Well, the thing, you don't need to be a horrible person to try to cheat the system, and it's almost poetic irony that you would mention Chanman as well. He's a good guy. He's a good guy, but he was behind the scenes, man.
Yeah.
He did some pretty sneaky shit to get ahead.
Yeah, the Chanman halts the bots.
It's like that really friendly guy, and then you go in his basement and there's a bunch of corpses you never knew, right? You just never know.
Yeah. Rip Chanman. Next up, we have Mini Razer joining Imaginary Gaming. You would think as a French team they'd pick an easier name to say, but no, they don't.
Are they French?
Yeah, they're French actually, and that's the funny part. Is they have like Targa, they now have Mini Razer. Like you would think they wouldn't branch out that much, but Rotterdam, what are your thoughts on Mini Razer finding a new home?
I'm happy for him. I got to meet him for the first time, I think properly. Maybe I met him once before, but I think the first time I really met him was at Home Story Cup 10, and he's actually very funny. I think he's the youngest and latest member to the Hangover crew and Dijon squad in the European scene, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun following Mini Razer's journey. He also seems to be a very good StarCraft player, but that almost seems irrelevant in this day and age. No, just kidding. He's a cool kid. I'm happy. If he's happy, I'm happy because he's fun. I don't know much about the team that he's joining, but hopefully they treat him well. But he's a good kid.
You were talking about the Dijon squad like you were a rapper. He was part of your crew, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works, though.
That's the vibe you gave me.
I want to say something.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Mini Razer, he's absolutely hilarious. He's a good friend of mine, so I'm a bit biased, but he's one of those guys that he can promote a sponsor really well. And he can really show his personality and promote his team. So I think Imaginary Gaming, it's a good pickup for them because, I don't know, I just love Mini Razer. He's a really funny guy, really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the type of guy that if the scene in 2010, 2011 would have blew the fuck up for a guy like Mini Razer, like if he would have back then, overnight that guy would have had thousands and thousands of people watching on the stream because he's very funny, he's a good player and definitely has a lot of personality. These days, because there is so much StarCraft and we have all seen and done so much of it already, it's a little bit harder to suddenly stand out, but Mini Razer and Oyster and stuff, those are truly pretty colorful guys in the European scene that makes it more fun. Of course, we watch for their games because they are really good players, but you watch for more than that, and you know that you get a smile on your face when you watch those guys either give interviews or see playing on stage and stuff like that. So they make it fun, keep it interesting and fresh for us.
My big question.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say my big question, because I don't know how the European scene works about as this shit goes. Is this pickup for Imaginary Gaming allow him to play in EPS? Does it? I want to know, man.
EPS is very exclusive. They don't.
How did Patience get to play in EPS? Like stuff like that. Like what does Mini Razer have to do now? I thought a part of this. I thought a part of this whole move thing was to get into. How is he going to become an EPS champion?
Okay.
He can't anyway. As long as Hazuop's the Blizzard game specialist, will stick around. Hazuops is winning 3 EPS titles next season, man. He's fucking winning Hearthstone Heroes and StarCraft all at the same time. He's gonna
I forget-
delay the show because he's occupied with running from stage to stage.
Talking
I
of
for-
EP, go ahead, Kane. Sorry.
Okay, I forget who told me this, but after Mini Razer beat Happy in the first, it was WCS is their first match that they played, and apparently Mini Razer did like a huge fist pump afterwards, like multiple fist pump, and apparently some of the Koreans are trying to copy that after they win. I forget who told me this, but there was some Korean who won like a big match or something, and he tried to copy the fist pump that Mini Razer did. So that's how.
I want to Google this now because like you may be talking about MMA because MMA made a bunch of fist pumps at BlizzCon, right?
J-Dog
Yes,
was
I
fist
think that
pumping
might have been
too.
it. I think that might have been it. Yeah.
That's
Alright.
kind of
But
cool.
yes, some of the Koreans saw this and they were really inspired by Mini Razer's happiness. So
Yeah, that's good. No, but that's one thing I wanted to talk about is EPS. You know, I think it's really cool. Going back to Kung Fu Panda finishing second, I think it's really cool that we have another German player that's doing well, and that doesn't seem so focused on just performing in EPS. Because if you have the people like Sake, Asuabs, and even maybe like Hero Marine, they don't seem to push themselves out of their comfort zone. You know, I'm doing well in EPS. That's kind of it for me. But then we have Kung Fu Panda coming along and doing well. So the German scene has always been strong, but they seem to not like fully tap into their potential. And hopefully with Kung Fu Panda we can see more German players doing well. So their German scene is pretty strong too. Like, you know, Take TV is a lot of viewers, and the better they do, the more viewers we'll get. It's the same thing when Stefano was doing super well. The French broadcasts were getting a lot more viewers, and so it's good for the scene. Also, Imaginary Gaming as the runner-up of the female ESF tournament, by the way. Her name is Sohai from Finland. I don't know why I mentioned it.
So high.
So
what a great nickname.
I'm not sure how you're supposed to say it, man. It's Soy High, like SOYHI.
I'm just so high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is so high, man. Freaking Wiz Khalifa playing StarCraft over there.
All right. Next up, we have Strelok still alive. Joins Cascade Gaming.
Oh yeah, he is, isn't he?
I've always been sad, like I don't really care, but I've always been sad that all these Ukrainians didn't just form their own team, or all of them should have just joined Navi and have a badass team, you know, like Whitera, Dimaga, Strelok, Cass, Bly, those guys. They all should have been on one team and they should have all just represented Navi. Like Navi is like so well united in the different games. That has always saddened me. I guess it's just that people often complain about StarCraft 2 salaries and stuff, but compared to a lot of other games, like StarCraft 2 players have always been pretty expensive, especially if you want to have like 4 or 5 of them. Because it's really sad, because like Navi is always like dominating in other games and they have like the best teams in the world, and then like they couldn't manage. Obviously they would have liked it, but in the end it didn't work out to get the guys like Whitera, Strelok and Dima and shit all on one team. That kind of saddened me, because I always thought it would have been awesome to see those Ukrainians all be on the same squad.
Yeah, they had a pretty good scene too back in 2011 and 12.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll make a comeback for Legacy with Papa Whitera leading the charge. But you know, Strelok, I thought about him like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was like, yo, did he retire? I remember, like, you know, his video with the carpet on the wall, saying like he wasn't gonna drink and he was gonna practice like 10 hours a day.
I promise.
Yes.
But that was it, right? Did he say I was?
Yeah, Strelok, motivation, StarCraft video. This has to be somewhere on the internet, right? I should have thought of that before the show.
Oh, this is so great.
Oh, I think he deleted it. The video does not exist. Yeah.
Red Reno.
it seems like every Ukrainian is so kind. Like every Ukrainian StarCraft player that I know, Strelok, Dima, White Raw, obviously, they're all just like genuinely good people. It seems like. I never hear anything bad about them, except for Bly, but...
That's what I was gonna say, like, you're forgetting Bly in there, man.
Yeah, but I don't know, it's just something about them. It just seems like they're really, really nice.
Yeah, but Strelok before that was on Alien Invasion, and he was doing really well in team leagues for about a month. There, he was on Alien Invasion. No, about a year. Sorry. All right. So next up we have. This is my favorite topic, by the way. Okay, hold on. Naniwa is preparing a secret comeback. So we had a detective on Reddit who added Naniwa a year ago and put a friend note on the Naniwa account. And then he's been stalking Naniwa playing team games with a girl he tweeted at on Twitter, Minnie Mouse.
Do you know who that is, by the way? Yeah, that's wrong.
You're such an asshole. So anyway, Naniwa spotted, like, he's been laddering a lot apparently, and the guy says if you look at his matches, his build are still the viable builds he used in 2013. For example, DTs into 3 base, double Stargate Void Drain PVZ. Who does this now? Question mark, question mark, question mark. So this guy went full creep mode on Naniwa, which, you know, props to that guy. Like, I don't care if you're a creep. I think it takes some serious dedication, and you should totally not give up your goal of creeping on Naniwa. But no, seriously, Rotterdam, your thoughts? Do you think Naniwa coming back would be a good thing? Do you think he'd have to make an Do you think he'd have to make an apology for what he did at IEM?
Yeah, maybe. Like, I don't know. It's also melodramatic. Should he not? Like, if Naniwa wants to come back, I think we should all just be happy about that. I think he already made an apology back then about it at IEM, even though it wasn't the best apology. It was still an apology, sort of. Like, Naniwa coming back to the scene is interesting for so many ways, because A, he's very talented, so we could have another foreigner. B, he has a lot of rivals, so people love rival games. You know, it brings like all of us, we are going to tune in when it's going to be Hawk versus Naniwa, or Naniwa versus Snoot, or Naniwa versus TLO right now, which, you know, like, started out of nowhere. Even, like, I think Naniwa and the Muslim get along pretty well right now, but you know, as soon as those two play against each other once or twice and one of them tweets something about the games, then you have another fun rivalry to follow. So it would definitely be good for the game, also because he still has a lot of loyal fans from back in the days. But I don't think that this means that, like, Naniwa is really coming back. Yeah, like, Naniwa is obviously going to play Legacy of the Void. Like, that's inevitable. Like, I know that's going to happen, but, you know, how serious is he going to commit to it? There's a good chance that he's going to give it a pretty serious run. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but it seems like Nani is not doing too much right now in life. He's often having sarcastic tweets about how productive his days are when he wakes up, watch some YouTube videos, plays a game of League, and then, I don't know, play some team games in StarCraft. Like, that pretty much seems to be Nani's life right now. I think he's a little bit on the fence of what he wants to do. So I think he's waiting for Legacy. I think he will play it. And then probably within like 2-3 weeks of playing the game, he will decide whether he goes, you know, all out, try to make some good runs, or if he just moves on in a different phase in his life. But I think right now there's a very, very good shot he's at least going to try.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Kane? As someone who likes to BM, would you like to have Naniwa back?
I don't want to really comment on this too much because I have my own opinion, but I will say that it's always good to have a bad guy in the scene. So, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
Wow,
Naniwa's not bad though. As Naniwa would say, I'm just so misunderstood. Okay.
Well, okay, it's always good to have a misunderstood guy in the scene.
You don't like Naniwa very much, Kane?
No, we've had our differences.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that. Nathanias, your thoughts?
He's a big enough source of controversy that it would certainly increase the viewership of any tournament he joined in. I think it'd be positive in a lot of ways. Like, the only negatives I can think about are, like, there'll probably be some, like, stupid drama once or twice, but it's totally worth the boost he would give. But no, he's totally not coming back to Legacy of the Void. I would be fucking floored if he, like, actually was like, I've been practicing and, like, played in, you know, the WCS qualifiers and, like, gotten a challenger. That alone would fucking blow me away. I don't think he's gonna do shit until Legacy of the Void comes out, or, you know, some sort of Heroes of the Storm League gets announced next year.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't believe Naniwa in the team. Like, I just don't think it works.
Yeah.
Even though he grew up, like, he became a lot more relaxed, I think, compared to a year or two ago. But he will always still be Naniwa, so we will have his little like outfall or fallouts or rages, and I just don't think that Naniwa could truly excel in a team game. I think it takes a certain personality, and I think he's just very good by himself, and he's not very good in having people to tell him what to do. Naniwa's good in doing things on his own.
Yeah, for sure. Personally, I've seen Naniwa like watch my stream when it's not even Remax. He's a mod in my chat. He watches Moro a lot. He's active. He's around. I just hope. If he comes back, that people don't go too crazy. And they're not too mad or whatever. I hope it goes well for him.
You know how it is. Like if Naniwa comes back, there might be a couple of people first like, oh, he disrespected the scene, and then the first 2-1 victory he gets over Flash or Rain, and everyone's like, yeah, our god, our Kingslayer is back. Like that. That's just how it goes.
Alright, guys, that settles everything. We've talked about every topic we've had. So now the viewer questions. We don't seem to have a lot of them right now, so this might be one of the best shows you have a chance at getting your question answered by using the hashtag SC2Remax on Twitter.
SC2Remax!
Yeah, man. And then I always see Rotterdam just put Remax with not the SC2. It's like, you'll never learn, man. It's okay. I love you, Roddy.
Sorry, man.
Okay, someone has a question. Is SOS like MC? You can watch but can't learn from their plays. Rotterdam.
I haven't watched the final yet, but I don't think so. I think you actually can learn quite a bit from SOS's games because what he doesn't come across as like super epic, flawless play. It's just like often very effective, indeed a little bit similar to how MC had most of his success. But I definitely think you can learn from that because he gives you the idea that you can do certain things as well. It's not like I'm watching Protoss magic in front of me. I'm just watching Protoss being very, very efficient. But I still have to watch the games from Hot 6 Cup. I just came back yesterday from San Jose. I came back pretty late, and obviously in the weekend I was focused on my own tournament. And I don't think Carmack would like it if I would stay up till 6 a.m. tweeting about the Hot 6 Cup when I have to be at the venue at 9, So I haven't seen everything that I should have. But no, I definitely think there is a lot you can take away from his games, and especially because he often gets a lot of stuff done with very few units, and I think that's something that you can definitely learn from watching SOS.
Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, at Rotterdam, obviously Latod is one of a kind, but who in the current StarCraft scene would you say is most comparable to him and his Warcraft 3 Prime?
So the current skill level of a StarCraft 2 player compared to Todd in his prime in Warcraft 3?
Which one would compare the most, I guess, and in terms of performance or he's not very specific.
No, I mean that's a hard question to answer. I mean, like Todd in his prime, and like 1 year he was the best Warcraft 3 player in the world in my opinion, and like of all time he's like top 3, top 4, maybe if I say top 5 he would get really mad at me, but like top 4 I guess. So you can fill it in yourself. A world-class player. The thing is, like, there is almost no StarCraft 2 player right now. No, there isn't one that is as consistent as Todd, Grubby, Moon, and Sky were in Warcraft 3. Like, those guys, they never lost pretty much, unless they played against each other. Like, them losing happened like once out of like 10 games against someone else. So you could say that Todd is maybe like an MMA or something, yeah, something like that. But like on his prime, even better, maybe in life. I don't know.
Would you say that gave a better narrative, like Warcraft 3 dominance of like and Moon and Grubby?
Yes and no. Yes, it gave a better narrative, and no, it was also like incredibly boring often because like there were so many tournaments where you could just already fill in who was going to be at the final stuff. It didn't start like between 2004 and 2008. That was like a complete domination by just like 3 or 4 players, and no one else really came in between. After that, that's when we started to have a few new people like Criophilus and stuff like that, and Hot from SK. Like those people were able to break the traditional top 2, top 3 a couple of times, but I mean, it's two sides to the story. It's like it's yes and no. I don't know what I would prefer. I think in StarCraft 2, it's more that some people just earn like it's not that they can't continue doing what they do. It's just often that they are satisfied with what they have achieved and they move on. There are very few people who have like that other motivation to just keep going tournament after tournament after tournament after tournament. And I think if some people have that, I think they can dominate in pretty convincing fashion as well.
Okay. Next up, we have for each guest, who are your favorite pro to study and why? Kane.
Um, before it was Roro and Sulky. They were my favorites. Unfortunately, we didn't see anything from Roro for a long time. And actually, we didn't see a lot from Sulky for a long time too. But now he's streaming. He's playing a few more tournaments. Sue is also a really, really good one because he plays standard a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But players like Life and Life, Symbol, Hyun, they all have their own ways of playing. So even though they're really, really good, you can't really learn from them. They just have a unique way of doing stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would probably say now that Roro's retired, probably Sulky and Sue.
Okay. Nathanias, what about you? 4GG?
Yeah, 4GG's been the guy I've actually been like, some people were like, oh, you just all of a sudden talking him up, whatever, because DreamHack, and I was like the only guy that said he wasn't gonna lose or some shit at the tournament, but like anybody who watches any like the tutorial videos I make, like when I'm studying tournament replays, I always go to 4GG, especially for Terran versus Terran. Like I haven't actually done a build that wasn't 4GG's in TBT for like, yeah, probably since Heart of the Swarm, because he's a really good player and he plays
like
a shit ton of
godly.
ladder. So yeah, and he plays so much ladder that like most of the builds that he does will be able to, if you scout, you can manage most things you'll face on ladder, which is the most important for someone who's trying to learn the game.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Rotterdam?
I mean, like when I watch, there's always like two things I watch for. One, I watch for like the really awesome, flawless play, or I watch for stuff that I would do myself. And even though like I really like Rain and I like watching him, and I think he's the best Protoss player, I think he's like the most flawless one in certain elements of the game. It's not that I watch him to copy his builds or something, because he approaches the matchups in a very different way than I do, and he has confidence in facing the game where Protoss has very few units and even limited vision. That me as like an RTS player, like it freaks me out that I can't really play like that. But he just like he relies on multitasking in certain phases in the game, and he knows that he'll be alright. And I know that I would get outplayed by my opponent, so it will be different. Like if I watch for stuff that I want to do myself, then someone like Parting is a little bit closer to stuff that I would like to do, even though he's often a very micro focused. But in certain ways I can do that too. So it depends how I'm viewing it. But if it comes down to like stuff that I want to do myself, then it's players like Parting, or in the European scene, maybe Harstem has some cheeky builds. He's fun to watch. In the old days, I like watching Grubby stream, but he hasn't been streaming StarCraft super often lately. I believe he's streaming now though, but. So it depends a little. I'm a little all over the board. I don't really watch StarCraft with the idea of like, man, I'm gonna copy these builds, because I don't have ambitions to like win the next tournament or something. I just play this game for fun, and the way that I approach the game in my own way, I know when I'm playing it's not always the most correct way, but for me it's the most fun way to play StarCraft. So I do it like that.
Do you ever watch Mana?
Yeah, and I like Mana.
Yeah, I like his play a lot. Like as a Zerg, I always feel a little scared going up against him. I think he's really solid.
No, I think he's really solid, and the funny thing about watching Mana is that even when you watch his games and you know that he's really good, there's still a couple of things that it's very easy to see where he could have still improved in. And if you didn't think about those things, like if you would start doing those things better as well, because often he like holds really scary pushes and like barely scrappy, but then you look at his money, or he was like lacking a gateway or two, or he could have had like slightly better macros. Like damn man, if you fix it too, then you're gonna smack these pushes down with like absolutely zero issues at all. So he is someone to watch, and then you can be like, hey, that is actually doable, because even if I don't do it as well as him in that element, I could have done something a little bit better there. So, Mana's fun.
Yeah. Next up, hey guys, with all the hype around Mech, how is Zerg supposed to trade out with Mech efficiently? Kane.
So this relates to the last question. Two of the best players I've seen versus Mech are Roro and Sulky. The reason being was that they're so good at attacking in different places at once. Their multitasking, I would say, is the best in the world. they have a way of just making the right transitions at the right time versus Mech. They have a very solid game plan when it comes to, you know, first making mutas and then going into roach and then maybe swarm hosts, and they're just so good at getting a lot of value out of their units. I think Mech is, I don't want to say it's imbalanced right now. It's really tough to play against Turtle Mech, but I think the key is just making a lot of transitions and being very cost efficient with your units. It's kind of like playing Protoss in that you just have to find ways to find holes in their play, maybe find a couple openings that you can abuse. It's just about picking them apart bit by bit, but it's really, really hard versus a good Mech player.
For everyone, do you think a bunch of new players will rise in Legacy of the Void, or will the current champions still dominate? Rotterdam.
I think it will be a couple of the current champions, and there will obviously be new players coming in as well. But I think something you have to look for is like guys that have been on the rise for a while that could finally make the big jump. Maybe just a random thought, maybe someone like Hero Marine in Germany or something, you know, like he's been a good player for a long time, but is still waiting for that international breakthrough where he actually has a deep run at a very big tournament. Someone like him seems to have a lot of motivation. He could finally make that next step, and a couple of players who just get more mature over time, you know, even Kane, for instance, because Kane has been like very good already for a while, but still kind of waiting for that one IEM where he makes top 4 or a DreamHack where he makes top 4. And, you know, if he keeps surrounding himself with these terrible friends, I think it's going to be hard. But other than that, I would still have confidence, you know. So I think it's going to be really interesting. It will often come down to motivation and hard work, because other than that, you know, it's just speculating.
Yeah, I mean, if Gosu user can do it, then Kane can do it, right?
Yep.
Right, Kane? You want him to come back so bad too, so you can.
I do, yeah. Like I like Ghost User. He's very nice in person. I haven't met him in person, but like over Skype and stuff like that, he's very nice. But in game, he can be a bit different sometimes. But,
Mike is fine,
yeah.
but he's a good guy.
Yeah. I've heard that he's a good guy too. I think he lived in the Complexity house, right?
Yeah, with QXC and.
I've heard good things about him, so I'd like to meet him. But yeah, I want to come back and I want to play him in some CVTs. So we'll see.
Do you think that Legacy of the Void will help revive the American scene and put them on equal ground with Europeans and Koreans? Nathanias.
Oh, I think, yeah. Well, I think that the same thing that makes Europe so much better than NA as far as player quality goes will actually cause NA to fall off even further. The hardest working players will maybe have the hardest working players in NA will win more consistently against the less hardworking players in NA. Because I think that Legacy of the Void, just the way that the game is being presented and the way that it seems to be designed, going towards like lots of different shit happening everywhere, is basically just going to make it so if you're a better player, it's going to be easier to see that. So I don't think it necessarily revives the NA scene. Like, I mean, the NA scene could have gotten a lot better this year, you know, if in March or some shit, like players that, I don't know, like everybody was like grinding super hard and just got good. Right? Like I don't think there's a magical secret that makes Daishi a good European Terran that people talk about that makes it like, well, we don't talk about Neeb at all, right? So
I don't know,
like
man.
that.
This year was pretty hard for Americans. Like
No.
There
were so many opportunities. So many.
Listen. So the last we heard of MLG was they skipped the last leg in 2013, saying their marketing was like super shit. So we thought, okay, no more MLGs, and then Red Bull was announced very last minute. So you had a huge gap between like January and like April, May, June of like, okay, there's WCS, but there's not much else. Like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna practice for?
Well, what about these online tournaments like Twitch and Endless Game and all that stuff?
There was so much. There was so much for NA this year. Like
there was really so fucking much. Is this
last year was awful. I'll agree. Like 2013, like 2012. Okay, we had a lot of focus on the Korean shit. Everyone circle jerks, GSL. Okay, and even then, like in 2012, we still had all the MLGs. Like last year, maybe this year was scarce for that, but all these Red Bull tournaments. You had the Red Bull online tournaments. There was. Like you said, the Ender's Game of Blue, like I almost even forgot about that, and that was actually a pretty good fucking tournament for NA players.
There was two tournaments.
Shoutcraft, what else? Destiny, like all
Yeah.
Destiny 1 was NA ladder qualified. There were so many opportunities for an American player, and it's like, I'm American, so I'm just worse than everybody else. Like, no, like if they're asking for fucking handicaps, like there's no excuse. This is like the first year where I can look at all the offline tournaments we had and online tournaments, and NA players had a really big chance to have like the same amount of like tournament performance. The only thing that NA gets kind of screwed on is, if you're a hard worker, you won't find many others, so the ladder is still shit. But outside of that, lots of NA players don't even play the NA ladder anymore anyway. So yeah, I don't really buy any excuses this year from NA.
Well, at first I thought I was right, but then I listened to you guys, and I think you might be right. But I think Kane is going to settle the matter. What are your thoughts, Kane?
I'm not a good person to speak on this. In the past year, I've been gone, I think, 9 months out of North America.
God damn it, Kane.
A lot of the time that I have spent in North America has been just getting myself gathered for the next trip, reuniting with family, stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm not a good person to speak on this. I think next year will be different for myself. I'll be spending a lot more time in NA. But yeah, I mean, other than the ladder being shit, I can't disagree. We had a lot of opportunities this year. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to partake in a lot of those properly because of the fact that I was just outside of the country. But
Okay.
yeah, there are not very many hardworking NA players. Like even Scarlet and Major, like they didn't even go to like IEM San Jose. Granted, they had valid excuses, but this isn't the first case that we've seen of stuff like that. So
Yeah, I love Major, but I'm getting really. This is like getting pretty insane. That's
Getting
like the
too old
fifth.
for this shit.
That's like the fifth tournament in a row or something now. Like
Yeah.
I love you, Juan, but no go, no bueno, no
yeah,
more.
and it's a shame because he's such a good player. Like he's
I know,
he's
that's-
scary. Like
Yeah, that's
when
the
when I
worst thing
play him on
about it.
ladder, when I play him on ladder, I'm like, fuck, it's Major. I'm gonna lose this game. You know, like he's so good.
I made a little small video about Scarlet and Major, and maybe that like IEM should do something,
Oh,
like
yeah, I saw that.
give them maybe a fine or ban them from the next qualifier. I got so much shit for the video, but I think it's like something that should be discussed. I talked about it with Nathanias. He didn't seem to want to go too deep into it, so I didn't bring it up on Remax. But yeah, Major wasting an NA spot and Scarlet wasting an NA spot for the qualifiers. It hurts the NA players and it hurts the scene. Like sure you can say like they should have beaten Scarlet and Major like instead of like complaining or even talking about it, but in the end it gives like a spot to a Korean from the open bracket instead of giving someone from NA exposure, and then it doesn't. The teams look at the players like Major and Scarlet and they're like, oh wow, they're not they're not super serious. Like, why should we invest? And so it hurts the scene. Hopefully, there's none of that next year, and Major's in good shape, and Scarlett is willing to travel a little bit more because she did that with Red Bull Detroit. Red Bull decided to do a qualifier and to pay out travels, and she didn't attend. So yeah, that's
Polt is another player who's been guilty of that too in the past. I think.
for
I might
Home
be,
Story Cup, right?
I think so, yeah. And I don't think that was his first time either. He tends to like win all of these qualifiers, and then he's busy with school. He has a life of his own, obviously outside of StarCraft, like most players. And so like things come up and he can't go. So yeah, I love Polt though.
Yeah.
But
Don't get me
Pope puts up enough results when he does show up to tournaments that you can't
That's very
really,
true.
you can't be mad at him. Like
Yeah.
I can understand that, like maybe Major gets sick or Scarlet has something going on, but the reason why, and I think this matches how a lot of people feel. The reason why this is such a big issue for the two of them is because this doesn't really happen with other players. Like the only other thing that people ever like made a big shitstorm about players not showing up is like Naniwa not going to home story cups, but he was still winning shit. And who else? Like I don't know. Like the Muslim didn't play the one like Shoutcraft tournament. But like we don't see this type of behavior pretty much at all from Europeans, and that's probably why everyone's like, well, it comes back to people. The lazy American scene thing gets put on them because the Europeans I don't really hear about Europeans forfeiting tournament spots.
Yeah. All right. The last. There's been so many people asking. We started the show and the Twitch by EG was announced. so we sort of like didn't have time to read any of the announcement. I guess we can still maybe have a few more thoughts on it, as maybe people. One of the questions that I found interesting on Twitter was the biggest monopoly in esports by the second biggest agency in esports. Will this become a trend for Amazon? Now, we're not in Amazon's shoes, but like Twitch is a really big grip on everything esports related. So for them to buy something like the agency of EG, who already has a big grip in NA and EU, can be a little bit scary. Rotterdam, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it's something that I don't really understand yet. So I have to read over it as well. But I think what it boils down to for now is just that a bunch of people just made a shit ton of money, and that's really nice for them. It's people who have shares in EG or Good Game Agency. They are all very happy. They just got rich, so good for them. I think it's kind of weird. I think it's kind of weird that Twitch owns a team, or well, Amazon, but it's Twitch making the purchase. So I think that's kind of strange. No, I don't know. I have to sit down and really think about it. But good for the people who just got rich. Being rich is nice.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing about this. Like in the business world, like if you look at companies, you're like, oh, big companies on top they don't think about. Like for example, Vivendi or whatever, owning Blizzard through proxy or whatever, for like the last X amount of years. But you normally don't like look at those two companies and think about it like that. It's like, well, why do they own, fucking StarCraft or whatever? But the idea I get behind it is that the reason why Twitch would do it is for the good game agency people. And it's kind of, I find it hilarious that everybody kind of, the way most people are talking about it is like, oh, Twitch bought EG, because I would be quite surprised if that had like the majority influence in doing something like that. But yeah, if you got, I guess it's not something that's talked about a lot, but the Good Game Agency actually has a very large number of high-profile streamers and people behind it, and the promotions team has obviously done a really good job, because they also are the people that manage EG and shit, and there's a reason why all those teams, why they've been successful and whatnot. So it's not a bad, if not just for their marketing team, like that's like such a big reason to pick that up if you can, and everything else they get on top of it is just honestly just organizations with really good brands. Like okay, maybe they don't want to own an esports team, but EG is like a good brand to have, right?
Yeah. I think I can understand why some people might panic a little bit. They'll be like, "Oh my god, this is going to be so unfair!" Massive monopoly. If you're on EG, then Twitch is going to push your stream even further, and they can get advantages. But I don't think that they have to worry about anything like that at all. I think it's going to be just still absolutely fair play. I don't think that we will notice a whole lot about it. It's probably just very good for the people who are on EG and people who were invested in EG, like Alex and stuff. Like, it's just really good news for them. I think for us as a neutral outstander, Twitch is. I think Twitch can help grow EG even further, but that also seems perhaps a little bit unfair to some of the other teams out there, like YEG. But we'll see. Mm-hmm. Maybe in the end, like. If like one team grows and the industry grows, and then eventually other teams grow, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be good all around for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it can be scary. Like you have Alliance, which is not that big, and then you have EG, which is like much bigger, but then you also have like that agency representing a team like CLG, and so on. So I feel like their reach is so wide and so big that there's a reason I had a dream. Me and Huck actually shared a dream about Alex Garfield, and it was both like a mafia type of dream, and it was on the same night too. It was the weirdest thing. I dreamed that I was working for Alex Garfield. I was cleaning up the corpses of the people he was killing over arguments, and then Huck had a similar dream. Like Alex Garfield could probably like reign supreme like 10 years from now. Fucking sitting on a pile of cash in his mansion, just doing nothing all day. But no, I don't know. It's good for esports, more money. It's more money in the hands of the right people to do better work. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool, but we don't have the full picture. We'll sure have a lot of articles and a lot of publicity about it in the days to come. Guys, that wraps up Remax. Let's do the shout outs and go on our merry way. Kane, what's up with you? Where are you going next? Are you gonna be streaming? I know you were streaming in Europe. Are you gonna continue that
Yeah,
at home?
so like I said earlier, for the past week, I've just been getting reacquainted with friends and family.
Mhm.
I will be streaming. I'll be streaming the Korean ladder because I actually get really good lag to Korea. Like, it's definitely ladderable. So yeah, I won't be laddering on NA or EU anymore, thankfully. And yeah, you can find me at MYKane on Twitter. Obviously, I'll be streaming at KaneSC2 on Twitch. And again, the World of CD Keys video just got released. It's on Reddit, the front page of the StarCraft Reddit. So you can go check that out. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. What about you, Nathanias? What are you up to?
Try just a lot of streaming. I don't have anything coming up anytime soon. Yeah, I just got back from Sweden. I want to go back. I don't know what else to say.
Wow, Rotterdam, how do you feel about that?
I only came back for Roddy. That's the truth. I
Oh,
already-
Yeah. I was about
But,
to say, what a selfish D-bag, but alright, then I'll
No.
save it.
believe me. If Kev wasn't here, I had an opportunity to not take my flight and still be okay. So outside of that, yeah, I did stream a lot when I was in Sweden, and I'm gonna continue to stream. And thanks CyberPower PC for giving me a laptop that actually ran my stream very well, because I think I might have been fucked if I couldn't really stream that much from Sweden. So yeah.
What about you, Kevin? Sorry, go ahead.
Not really. I'm just gonna stream a lot as well. Upcoming days, twitch.tv/Rotterdam08. You'll see me there. I'm gonna try to cheese my way to GM. Yeah, feel good about it. I'm a little sleepy right now, and soon I have to deal with some really annoying things like the aftermath of the Roddy road trip, and it's gonna be very expensive. So it kind of sucks. So I'm in a little bit of a Debbie Downer mood, but I still try to just show up. And other than that, I don't know. I go to Seattle this weekend to play some Dota. Apparently, like I don't know why I agreed to this, but Mr. Bitter asked me to go to this tournament and play Dota, and I was like, okay, I'll go. I've never been in Seattle, so that's kind of exciting. Maybe I can visit the Seahawks game or something. I don't know, but
That
yeah.
tournament should happen in StarCraft 2 with Archon mode. How sick would
no.
that be?
That's a great idea. Like Arkham mode is going to be very exciting. We can do a lot of fun stuff with that. But yeah, so that's about it. Like I have something small tomorrow. I have to be on the. I'm gonna be with Nate recording something, and after that I have to be on a Dota stream as well. Like Mr. Bitter paired me up with some grill. I don't know.
Nice.
Last time this happened.
I like where this is going.
I have to play Dota with her, I think, and then the next day I fly to Seattle, or it's Friday. I think it's Friday, and then I'll be back on Sunday. And after that, it's like absolute freedom. It's just going to be gym, stream, maybe rave with Nate, and then repeat. Gym, stream, rave
Wait.
with Nate, repeat.
Does he have to shave before you guys go rave?
No, Nate can rock
Did
a
you
beard,
say
man.
that just for the rhyme? No, I'm keeping it like this, man. I need to switch things up. I don't want to get too comfortable.
Alright, that's good. Yeah, I want to thank all my guests for coming on the show. I want to thank you guys for asking questions and watching. Crap, I had something to mention, but I forgot. Yeah, next week will be a special episode. I'm not sure of the guest list, but since there's no tournaments happening this weekend, it'll be a special episode with new people. So I hope you give it a chance and tune in to hear what we have to say. I'm not sure which, because I had a few special episodes in mind. I'm not sure which I'm going to pick, but I'm pretty sure... yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. So, yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I'm going to host Grubby. So, if you want to stick around after the ads, just thank you. And, yeah, we'll see you guys another time. Thank you for watching. You guys didn't wave.